I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Tuesday, February the 5th, where there's an issue that I haven't harped on near enough and I haven't seen anybody else talk about it a lot. But I'm telling you, after this rough winter we've had, especially in the Midwest, not so much maybe in the northern plains, but in the meat of the Midwest and Kansas and places like that, this hay shortage is real now. It's really dire straits now. Guys have had to use a lot of hay to get their cattle through the frigid cold and through the wet, miserable conditions. And talking to some friends of mine in Missouri there, we used to take crop tours, especially in the spring of the year, and I'm sure a lot of you guys have taken good old crop tours on a Sunday afternoon or something like that. And he says they're making hay tours now, just driving around looking for any hay stacked up that maybe they know that the guy doesn't have any cattle. They know he doesn't have very many cattle, probably got more hay. Just knocking on doors, stopping, just doing anything they can to try to find a few bales of hay to get them through till spring. And guys are, of course, are holding on to that, you know, whenever times are tough. You know, there's always some guys that's got some hay kind of stashed away, and they're really going to charge for it and try to pick up for times whenever they don't really have anybody looking for a lot of hay. But I will tell you that for a certain extent, hay has a shelf life. Yeah, there's some guys wishing they hadn't to give quite so much to the fire relief there a few years ago, but I'd like to have some of that hay too. But demand for hay has a shelf life too. And if you're somebody that's sitting on some hay, just seeing how much you can get for it, you might want to think about that and let some guys up for air a little bit, because they'll be needing some hay another year when it's plentiful, and they're probably going to go to the old boy that bailed them out when they were really in a bind. So remember, here in a few months, that hay won't have near the demand that it does now, and you might just want to find some new customers and help some guys out. But look at the board for Monday. February live cattle futures up 27 cents to end the day at 125.72. And you're thinking, hey, how can this still be higher when we thought that it peaked out on Thursday last week? Well, the highest it got on Thursday last week was 127.12. If we do get up to that point, yeah, we'll break through that. But until it does, that is still kind of looked at as a pivotal number right there. April live cattle up 72 cents at 127 even. March feeder cattle up $1.70, ending the day at 144.22, and April up 82 cents at 145.82. Look at the weighted average on last week's negotiated fed cattle trade in the 5-area feeding region. 84,800 head, which is on kind of the light end of average, so you know, a decent trade there. But it was a little higher, so the packers didn't get it too aggressive, but still a decent movement there. You look at live sales of averaged from where they sold at 124 was the whole price that the market was established at, but they ranged from 122 to 126 with a weighted average on live steers of 123.87, and that was up 58 cents from the weighted average from the previous week. Dress steers and heifers range from $195 to $200 even. The sales were mostly $198 to $199, which was mostly $1 to $2 higher. And your dress steers averaged $198.34. That was $1.12 higher. So it's good to gain some ground when they get a chance to do it. Nationwide, negotiated sales were 101,600 head, and only 8% of those, or 8,500 head or so, were for the 15 to 30 day delivery. So it doesn't look like they're reaching out too much trying to get cattle to deliver down the road so they can kind of set things up. But contracts are up. Contracts are up already quite a bit for spring, so they may be doing it on that end. Already for March, 191,700 head of cattle contracted for March delivery, compared to 170,400 head a year ago. It's through all of last year. In April, 256,600 head compared to 246,800. That's a lot of contracts for April delivery of fat cattle right there. So you got to look at it from all sides. Look at your feeder cattle market. Let's check your real-time index. It's sitting at 142.15 and it's higher. So check that on your National Beef Wire there. You can watch it update just as it comes. It's still updating as there's still a few sales going. But 142.15 on an average of an 800-pound steer, and that's higher. Look at Oklahoma City National Stockyards there, 12,200 head. Feeder steers steady to $2 higher. Feeder heifers $1 to $3 lower, except the federal state market report said on 650 to 700 pounders, and they were $2 higher. Called the calves steady to $3 lower. They also noted that demand was only moderate to good, but that bidding was active from a large crowd of buyers on a really good selection. So not sure how much you take to each of those statements that kind of contradict each other. But look at the market report from National Livestock Commission there in Oklahoma City. You see they had a good run this week and had a good run from that firm last week. Just look at the sales of National's cattle there on their wholesale that they sold here on Monday. Steers, there was 394 head of the 5-weight steers that averaged 562 at 165.23. That was $7 higher than last week. 502 head of 6-weight steers averaged 656 at 145.71, and that was some higher. And then note, you can see where the feeder heifers were a little bit off. Also there on National's round, 416 head of 6-weight heifers averaged 644 at 135.23. Look at Joplin Regional Stockyards, 8,100 head there for them, so a good run for them also. Always have a good market for Pee-wee steer calves, and they did again on Monday. Those weighing under 500 pounds, $3 to $7 higher, and they just seem like they're higher every week, as that's a good place to go in there and get a lot of lightweight steer calves to get warmed up for spring turnout or maybe some graze out wheat. The rest of the cattle, your heifers and your heavier steers, were mostly steady to $3 higher. Included in that was an individual quote, 66 head of 830-pound steers in Joplin on Monday bring $147. Now that is high. I don't care where you're at. That's higher than most of our upper Midwest or Northern Plains 8-weight cattle. And if you want to tap into that buyer base that Joplin Regional's got, they have their prime time video. They've got a big one coming up. I was talking to Colby Flatt down there at New Orleans, and he kind of manages that video deal there. And he said they got a big sale coming up February the 21st at the Downstream Casino, so it's one of their special videos. If you want to get your cattle on there, you've got time to do it, and you don't have to be in the 4-state area. You can be anywhere, but get a hold of them there. The deadline for getting those cattle contracts in is February 14th for the sale on February 21st. So don't forget that primetime video auction. It's going to be at Downstream Casino, just west of the barn to Joplin Regional Stockyards. Look at Russell, Iowa on Monday, had a whale of a sale. 4,650 head there. I tell you what, the Iowa State Market Reporter had a good easy trend there on a big test of cattle. Under 600 pounders, he called $5 to $12 higher. Over 600 pounds, $2 to $5 higher on the Cattle Market Central Market Report that you see here. Agrees with that very much, and just very, very impressive weighted averages on these cattle. But look at the weights that are the best tested. On 989 head of 6-weight steers, they averaged 650 at 158.10, and that was over $3 higher than last week. 835 head of 7-weight steers averaged 749 at almost $148 even. That was over $5.50 higher than the weighted average from the previous week. And 580 head of 8-weight steers averaged $8.34 at $141.58, over $2 higher than last week. So great sale in Russell, Iowa is getting to be like a Sandhills type sale, except sitting in south central Iowa. That's your feeder flash for Tuesday.